What's up, everybody? We're back. A brand new episode of the Last Wave podcast. We go over topics like ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, nerd stuff, and conspiracies. As always, thanks for listening. It means a whole lot to us. Check out our Facebook page. Check out our Patreon.com, our Last Wave blog, which is a Wix site. Everything has got links everywhere. So check us out, follow us. We did start a paranormal group in our local area, which is Hickory, North Carolina. That's also on our Facebook page as well. I've mixed in some links, so that should be easy to find. But all in all, we're doing a lot. We're spreading out and hopefully get some live investigation stuff or some evidence stuff to post on the channel as well. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I have posted some pictures from one of our last episodes on the Facebook page, so be sure to check that out. Today we got a really cool episode going a little bit against the conspiracy grain and the hauntings and stuff like that. This is going to be more towards history. This episode is going to be on what's called the Odachi. They are massive swords from feudal Japan. The Odachi, meaning great sword, was a giant-sized weapon used on the battlefields of Japan. Now, first look at these huge swords harken up images of massive soldiers just wielding them masterfully, slicing through entire groups of enemies with great swings. It is so large, in fact, that it was indeed said to have been wielded by a giant, or by giants, because there are more than one. Apart from the basic knowledge of it having been forged, having the one we're focusing on today, having it been forged in the 15th century AD, measuring 12.37 feet in length and weighing as much as 32 pounds. This impressive sword is shrouded in mystery, and I will get some pictures of the ones that we're discussing today. The Odachi, I have it more geared towards just one of the articles that I found, one of the research that I found, that kind of stuff, but there were more than one. The Japanese are well known for their sword crafting. Many varieties of blades have been produced by the swordsmiths of Japan, but arguably the one most people are familiar with is the katana, due to its association with the famed samurai. Nevertheless, there are also other lesser types of known swords that are produced over the centuries in Japan, one of which is the Odachi. The Odachi resembles a katana in form and has a curved blade and a long hilt. Again, I'll be posting some pictures on the account, on the websites and the Facebook pages, because they are just insane to look at. There are several different measurements, but quite a few found that the blades itself was at least 6 feet long. A blade the size of a normal sized human being. That is intense to think about. I'm an axe man myself, but I can respect that type of weaponry. The reign of the blade existed much of the 15th century, 14th century. And there are a number of ways in which the Odachi may have been used on the battlefield. The most straightforward of these is that they were simply used by foot soldiers. There is literature from the period containing reports of soldiers wielding them. A foot soldier wielding an Odachi might have had the sword slung across his back instead of by his side, due to its exceptional length. This, however, made it absolutely impossible for the warrior to draw his own blade. Alternatively, the Odachi may have just been carried by hand onto the battlefield as well. During the Muromachi period, which lasted from the 14th to the 16th centuries AD, it was common for a warrior carrying the Odachi to have a retainer who would help draw the weapon for him. It is possible that the Odachi was wielded by warriors who fought on horseback as well. Either way, can you imagine being the guy with that task? He's just supposed to follow you around, and whenever you're ready, he draws the sword for you. I mean, that's an absurd thought, but there's a sword that's so big you have to have two people to get it ready. It's crazy to me. It has also been suggested that as the Odachi was cumbersome, it was a cumbersome weapon to use. Imagine that. It was not actually utilized as a weapon in combat. Instead, it could have been used as a kind of standard for an army, similar to the way that a flag would have been employed during battle. Furthermore, it has been pointed out that the Odachi took on a more ritualistic role During the Edo period, for example, it was popular for the Odachi to be used during ceremonies. Um, Apart from that, the Odachis were sometimes placed into shrines as an offering to the gods. The Odachi may have also served as a showcase of swordsmith skills, as it was not easy to craft a blade of such length. I can imagine. I mean, that's just from my inexperience of watching like Forged in Fire when those guys are making knives. I couldn't imagine a 6 foot or longer blade. That would be insanity. That's an episode they should do. I am no history expert, but I honestly disagree with the use for ceremony theory. If the blade was that difficult to manufacture, then it would have been made for high level samurai or imperial guard of some type. Anyone who has ever seen movies or shows or read history based on the period have seen flags and normal cloth standards by the thousands. I would also like to put forward that the idea that it could have been used as an executioner's blade. It would make more sense given the length and the weight. Again, my main experiences with the time frame are from video games, but I'm not an idiot. These blades had to have been created for war. There are a couple different techniques, like I mentioned, for the use of the Odachi. One account I found shows that the sword was used in combat that came from a school for sword fighting, so to speak, of ancient times. There was the way that it was held over the back and had a helper, like we said, as well as horseback. This technique had to do with carrying the sword on the hip, like a normal sized katana, but pulling the sheath off and throwing it to the ground to reveal the blade. Some schools taught this for other blades, but only the Isshin Ryu or martial arts school of thought seems to have used it to improve the drawing speed of an Odachi. Which I guess this kind of makes sense as far as a much better way. If you're going to carry it, it's better just to slide that sheath back and then you're ready to go instead of keeping the sheath attached to you. That would also be super cumbersome in battle, I would have to imagine. Again, I like uh, this idea much better. There are reports of that support both techniques. The bottom line is the sword will take a large amount of money and a very skilled bladesmith to craft. The excessive heat and weight of the blade could cause it to warp and crack, so the skill to complete the task was not an everyday job. So either these weapons were purely ceremony, or made to hang on the walls of certain royals and higher ups, or it was made for the best and biggest soldiers in the army. I like that idea a whole lot better. Throughout history and different cultures, there are almost similar weapons like large broadswords and the claymore sword especially, wielded by large men sent to clear the battlefields of many enemies at one time. You see that even today. I can speak to personal experience in media like games. There are numerous instances of huge blades being wielded by skilled soldiers. You see this in movies as well, obviously with Braveheart and the Claymore sword. So I'm going to stick with my theory of just beastly skilled samurai like clashing through the battlefield, sweeping away enemies with these massive blades. And upon death or promotion, they were given to lords or hung up for good. To me, that's a much better ending for such an insane weapon. These blades, just from the pictures that I saw, I mean, there's excuse me, there's legends of giants in Japan and stuff like that, and giant warriors. But again, a normal person could wield it. You would just have to be immensely strong. I feel like much more strong than a normal soldier would have been. So give this to your larger people, your royal guard, things of that nature. I could much more see them used in that form. Say two imperial guardsmen, standing by the emperor or what have you, the general, as he commanded people to go, and they're just standing there guarding him. I can kind of see that a lot more than just crafting these beautiful weapons and hanging them on a wall. Can't see that. Feudal Japan was about, I mean, it was about feuding, fighting. That's all it was. Claiming territory, this family versus this family. this clan versus this clan. I mean, that's what feudal Japan was. So spending that much time and effort of a craftsman to craft a blade like that, only to not use it, I just can't see that. So anyway, short episode today. It's only a couple, 10 minutes or so. This is a story I've had for a while, and sometimes when I do those, they do often end up shorter. So either way, thank you for listening. Check us out on all our Facebook and Patreon and all that stuff. Trying to fit in time for more episodes and longer episodes as well. Like I said, this one's a little bit shorter because it's kind of a story I've had for a while in my back pocket. And check us out on our blog. Putting a whole lot of effort into that as well, and I'll post links to that. Our blog, I think I alone did 2 stories today. So there's 2 articles on there that are new. Probably do a couple more this week. I'm getting some people to help me work on that with especially research and things and finding stories like that to put up. So a lot going on. Really, really enjoying it. It's a whole lot to do. So follow us everywhere. Follow us on Twitter, whatever you can find for us. And thanks for listening. It does mean a lot. And we'll catch you on the next episode.